Hello, I'm John Arima, a minister's assistant at the Mountain View Buddhist Temple. Originally, our resident minister, Reverend Mukajima, was to visit the San Mateo Buddhist Temple for their Ohigan service on March 22nd, and I was to give the Dharma message at Mountain View's service on that same day. Since San Mateo is providing live broadcasts of their services, Reverend Mukajima will still deliver a Japanese language Dharma message for their Ohigan service, and I will now deliver a Dharma message on behalf of the Mountain View Buddhist Temple. Now, please bow your head slightly or place your hands together in Gasho and hear my reading of the first of Rennyo Shonin's letters, the Ofude Hajimete no Gobunsho. The single path of Shinjin taught by the master Shinran of our tradition is that people should set aside their concerns over the weight of their karma, or whether or not they have cut off delusional attachments in their minds. Instead, persons dwelling in worldly life should steadfastly abandon their false attachments to the miscellaneous and sundry practices, and take refuge in the compassionate vow of Amida Tathagata. In the one thought moment in which one entrusts single-mindedly and without doubt, Amida Tathagata immediately sends forth light and embraces that person. This means that one is saved by the Buddha. It also means that such Shinjin is bestowed by the Tathagata. For this reason, one should not think, "Buddha, please save me," when saying the name. One should understand that the Nembutsu is an expression of overwhelming gratitude, that one is saved simply with the one thought moment of Shinjin in which one entrusts in Amida. It is a response to Amida Tathagata for his benevolent salvation. This is what it means to be a true practicer of the exclusive practice of Nembutsu. It is also what is meant by the teaching established in our tradition that the karmic cause of birth is fulfilled in ordinary life with the arising of the one thought moment of Shinjin. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandas, 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 namandas. The reason I chose to refer to Rennyo Shonin and his letters for this Dharma message is really due to the COVID-19 pandemic in which we now find ourselves. There are several similarities between our current situation and the period in time in which Rennyo began using his letters as a means of communicating the Dharma. In 1461, the year that Rennyo wrote his first letter, the Great Kansho famine was causing food shortages and starvation. It's said that dead bodies were stacked in the streets of Kyoto and countless corpses were dumped into the Kamo River. Instead of helping the people, the shogun, Yoshimasa Ashikaga, was caught up in power struggles to protect his political influence. Even the leadership of Buddhist temples that were recognized and supported by the feudal governments, such as Enrakuji and Kofukuji, chose to focus on collecting land taxes from those living on their properties instead of finding ways to help relieve those people's physical suffering. Amid all this strife, Rennyo recognized the need to find a way that the teachings of Amida's wisdom and compassion could reach all those who were suffering. The way Rennyo sought to enable this was through distribution of his letters to groups of Shin Buddhists so these letters could be read at their Dharma gatherings. One aspect of Rennyo's letters that I personally appreciated is that he tried to communicate Shinran's teachings in ways that would be easy for lay followers to understand. The way Rennyo came to transmit Shinran's teachings was to emphasize three tenets, as he did in the first letter that I read to begin this message. To me, those tenets really come down to Shinjin is the true cause of birth in the Pure Land. Saying the name Namo Amida Butsu is a response of gratitude. And what he closed his first letter with, the karmic cause of birth in the Pure Land is fulfilled in ordinary life. Rennyo believed that the Dharma provides a path which all beings can use to guide them through life. The last tenet that I cited, the karmic cause of birth in the Pure Land is fulfilled in ordinary life, is a little bit confusing when you just hear that term read that way. But what it's trying to say is that we can all live our lives without fear, even in the face of inevitable death, because we have assurance of birth in the Pure Land once we attain Shinjin. Though we can never know the manner in which we will die, death is the inevitable conclusion of our lives. So with all that knowledge, we should all find ways to overcome our fears, especially in these times of uncertainty, and try to live our lives practicing as much wisdom and compassion as we each possibly can. It's through living our lives in the best possible ways that we are able to, that we will enhance the karmic conditions that can lead to our realization of Shinjin, which then is the moment, the one thought moment, when we become assured of birth in the Pure Land. There's another reason why I was thinking of Rennyo and his letters and developed this Dharma message. And that's because a lot of BCA temples have suspended all activities, including services, during this COVID-19 pandemic. Many of these temples have started the use of online media to ensure that those seeking reassurance by hearing the Dharma are able to do so. And it's interesting to see how quickly temples that had not previously used online resources, such as Mountain View, are posting Dharma messages and live streaming services for those who want to hear the Dharma during these trying times. For Rennyo in his time, he couldn't physically be present at all of the Dharma gatherings. And it's not only because of the limitations of travel during his life, during that period of time. Another reason was that he was on the run a lot of the times. He was escaping attacks that were intended to destroy the Honganji. In fact, in 1465, Rennyo had to flee the Otani Honganji compound and went to the Omi province, which is today's Shiga prefecture. Later in that same year, the Otani Honganji was physically destroyed by an army of priests from Mount Hiei. So, while today we do not have to face physical attacks, however, many temples around the world, in America, Hawaii, Canada, even Japan, they're facing financial difficulties. And some of them may, in fact, not even be able to continue. I'm kind of hoping that the extended outreach of the Dharma leads to some positive outcomes. And even though it's triggered by this current tragic type of situation, from the karmic conditions that initiate this, hopefully a positive outcome or some positive outcomes can come from it. Perhaps the increased outreach and accessibility of our Jodo Shinshu traditions resulting from the reactions to the COVID-19 pandemic can lead to saving temples from closing due to declining membership and financial resources. As more people are able to hear the Dharma, my hope is that they will aspire to continuously learn and join groups of others while maintaining social distancing, who share the same aspirations, and then help them continue the mission to promote the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, as well as propagate the Jodo Shinshu teachings. As we're often reminded during our Sunday services, the three treasures are the Buddha, because he's the karmic source of the Dharma. The Dharma, or teachings, which give us guidance towards freedom from suffering. And the Sangha, the groups of those seeking together to understand the Dharma in order to find their freedom and freedom for everyone from suffering. So I'd like to conclude with this following thought. What can we as individuals do in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic when we cannot control or even predict what will happen next? I think the teaching gives us the answer. Following what Rennyo Shonin is telling us, based on the teachings of Shinran Shonin, what we must strive to do is live our lives fearlessly, with as much wisdom and compassion as possible, knowing that our birth in the Pure Land is assured during our ordinary lives, from the moment we completely entrust in Amida's primal vow. Please join me in Gasho. The single path of Shinjin taught by the Master Shinran is that people should set aside their concerns over the weight of their karma, or whether or not they have cut off delusional attachments in their minds. Instead, persons dwelling in worldly life should steadfastly abandon their false attachments to the miscellaneous and sundry practices and take refuge in the compassionate vow of Amida Tathagata. In the one thought moment in which one entrusts single-mindedly and without doubt, Amida Tathagata immediately sends forth light and embraces that person. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandas, 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 namandas. Thank you for your attention today. I hope everyone has a safe and productive week, and we will be posting another Dharma message in the following week for next Sunday. Thank you very much.